Welcome into Friday's ESPN FC Live. My name is Mark Donaldson. You'll recognise the man on the left-hand side, Miguel Echegaray. And delighted to welcome the Liverpool reporter for ESPN FC, Beth Lindop. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a good week for Liverpool, so happy to chat about it.
Okay, Stevie Nicol won't answer this question about which particular beverage he wishes to celebrate with Liverpool winning the title this year. I'm not going to ask you about that, but I will ask you, when you've got a 13-point lead, as Liverpool do have, as a journalist, what is it you're looking for when you pretty much know that the title is going to be won, as far as how you're going to cover what Liverpool are about to do?
Yeah, well, I was at Anfield on Wednesday night, and from the moment that the news of the Arsenal result filtered through, it was a real sort of party atmosphere inside Anfield, and it really made me think, should Liverpool carry on the current trajectory, the next few months promise to be sort of party after party, week after week. But yeah, from a journalist perspective, I suppose, we've done various permutations of when and where Liverpool could win it. It's looking likely maybe at home to Tottenham and things like that. So I guess the next couple of months will be about getting things prepared and ready to go for if they manage to get over the line. And yeah, that makes my job a little easier because I can maybe plan ahead of time a little bit. But yeah, I'm still sort of too superstitious to say it fully out loud. But I think it's looking very good for them at the moment.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. A 13-point lead. Arsenal, LME have got that game in hand. But no team has come back from more than a 13-point lead. It's more a case of when, not if, isn't it? Just stick a fork in this one because it's cooked.
Absolutely. And ironically, it was Arsenal who did that in 1997, 1998 against Manchester United to win the title. But this is done. Beth, get your bags ready. Start thinking about other content, like where Darwin Núñez is going to play next season, and maybe a single cam on Arne Slot every time Darwin Núñez does training, something interesting like that. But yes, it's over. Even if Arsenal go perfect, between now and the end of the season, even with that extra game, Liverpool just needs 7 wins from the final remaining 10 matches. They have 6 games remaining at home. All of them, of course, very doable to win, including Arsenal's match as well. And as I mentioned, the Gunners have to travel to Anfield too. And this is over, I think. And it's not really in the scheme of what we've seen Liverpool do in the last few weeks. It's what we've seen them do all season. Sure. It's a remarkable campaign. And I know that it might be too early to even talk about this, but not really hasn't been, MD. This is a remarkable campaign from a manager who just arrived to the Premier League. We kept talking about having to take over a legendary boss. This, in respect to this, is Jurgen Klopp. The fact that he's had to deal with 3 players who at this moment are running out of their current contract as well. Champions League, they top that table as well. It's been incredible. And throughout all the chaos and all the noise, Arne Slot has just been completely focused. Remarkable stuff. Whatever happens, they're going to win the Premier League title to match Manchester United's 20th title in the in the top division. It's unbelievable. So amazing stuff for Liverpool. But yes, it's not done. I know, Beth, but remarkable stuff from Arne Slot and the Reds.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Man United have had over Liverpool for as long as they've had over, and it's been a while, those 20 titles. And that big green box on the right-hand side, we will get to Mohamed Salah and his future shortly. But I want to kind of turn this one on its head, rather than will they, when it's pretty obvious that they will. Can they, Beth, equal or better Manchester City's record 19-point gap between winners and the rest? And what would that take between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, well, I think it will probably demand near perfection, maybe not quite perfection, because I do think Arsenal will probably drop more points between now and the end of the season, but I think it would demand a pretty impressive run to eclipse that record that Manchester City set. I also think sometimes when you get the title wrapped up nice and early, as Liverpool did when they last won it in 2019-20. They were on course at that point to surpass City's incredible record as being Centurions. And then just toward the latter end of the campaign, I think, psychologically, when there's not as much on the line, I think it's so difficult to maintain those levels, particularly if you're coming up against teams who are fighting for one thing or another. So, I'm not 100% convinced Liverpool are going to do that. But Arsenal do look pretty pretty poor at the moment, and obviously they didn't play terribly against Nottingham Forest the other evening, and I caught a little bit of that, but they just look so blunt up top. And we know Bukayo Saka's still out for a little while, Gabriel Martinelli as well. So I suppose it maybe depends more on what Arsenal do than Liverpool in terms of trying to bridge that gap at the top. But Liverpool care if they win it by 1 point or 20 points, as they're celebrating at the end of the season. I'm not sure they'll be too bothered.
Well, that's the thing, because they're still involved in so many cup competitions. It might be a case of celebrations have to be on hold because there's still big games to come. Look, that's all something that you can worry about. It's first world problems. Don't have any issue with that. You can enjoy it when that happens. I want to get on to Mo Salah now, and I want to take you back, LME, to 2013-2014 season. That was when Luis Suarez had 43 goal involvements, either goals or assists. That's the Liverpool club record. It's not a Premier League record. That was Alan Shearer in 1994-95 with 47, and Andrew Cole the year before, also with 47. It would be a surprise, not if Mohamed Salah overtakes Luis Suarez, but if Mohamed Salah, come the end of the season, assuming he stays fit, maybe even gets 50 or more the way he's playing. Is it his best ever season personally?
His best, yes, 100%. Because when you look at the barometer of what Mohamed Salah has done, and obviously we've seen the goal statistics that we've seen in the past, when you look at these numbers that you're seeing on the screen, I always think about the overall goal contributions, as you have discussed already at the beginning of this question. To me, when you compare this, at 30 goals, 21 assists in 39. To me, for the fact that he's going to be 33 years old this summer, working under a new manager, again, dealing with the external situations of whether he's going to stay with Liverpool, move or whatever, all those components, to me, at this point, if this continues, to me, it will make it as the greatest season any player has ever done. And I know that it's important to understand context here, especially for young viewers, because you mentioned, obviously, the likes of Lucho Suarez and Andy Cole. And in the Premier League, by the way, was it 93, 94, when Andy Cole, newly promoted Newcastle,
yes,
34 goals, none of them were penalties. That's remarkable. I think about Cristiano Ronaldo as well in 2007, 2008, when he scored 31 goals in the Premier League, and Sir Alex Ferguson was just like, over 40 contributions in all competitions as a winger, by the way. He wasn't a striker in that situation. Jamie Vardy, he was playing non-league football in the lead up to when they won the 2015-2016 Premier League title. Erling Haaland, of course, what he did a few seasons ago in his debut season to break the single season goal record in the Premier League. So all these, Thierry Henry, I mean, how can we forget Thierry Henry, 2002, 2003 as well, in the Premier League. But when I think about what Mohamed Salah has done in every competition, under a new manager at 32 years old, as a winger, it's remarkable. And if this continues, because there's still matches to go, both in the Champions League as well as the League Cup final as well, and of course in the Premier League, it will be, in my opinion, the greatest season by any Premier League player ever.
Let's take another look at that Mohamed Salah graphic. So this is all competitions. The one I mentioned is the 42 goal contributions in the Premier League. He's got another 9, whether it's Champions League, FA Cup, or League Cup. And Beth, I want to take you back to last summer. We had Liverpool against Betis on ESPN. I was speaking to Arne Slot beforehand about what we can expect from the tactics. Where's Mohamed Salah going to play? Now, LME said it's his best season so far, and he's already matched his numbers personally from his previous best season. So I don't think there's any doubt about that. But as someone that covers Liverpool on a weekly basis, what have we seen from when they played Betis in Arne Slot's first preseason game in the United States way back in July with regards to comparing and contrasting his position, Mohamed Salah, with Jurgen Klopp and now under Arne Slot?
Yeah, I think there's not a major difference, but I do think there were times, certainly last season, when it just seemed like he wasn't close enough to the goal. And it felt like that was something that Liverpool just needed to do. They needed to make sure that he wasn't just sort of hugging the touchline, and I'm not quite sure they were successful at that really last season. I think this season we've seen him come into the box a lot more, but I just think this season, and it has always been the case really, but this season to an even greater degree, he is the focal point of the team. Darwin Núñez Diogo Jota have both come in to that centre forward role at times, and Luis Diaz as well as a false nine, and they've helped the team in that sense. But the number 9 for Liverpool is not the focal point of the attack. The focal point is Mo Salah, and I think everything that the team does is geared towards, under Arne Slot, helping Mo Salah be the best that he can be. And I think as much as that is the case, I think Mo Salah, he's often had it levelled at him in the past that he's a selfish player and that he takes on too many shots when maybe he should pass and things like that. But you've only got to look this season his assist record. I think he got asked himself the other day, is this your best season? And he said, well, I think I'm helping the players around me more in terms of helping them get the numbers up, in terms of assisting as many players as he can. And that Newcastle game the other night, he didn't score, but he got an assist, and just some of his passing in that game and his movement, it was just an absolute joy to watch. And, I think the thing for me that stood out most this season from last season, because don't forget, it was only sort of last April when he was having a touchline spat with Jurgen Klopp because he'd been left on the bench. And I just think you look at him now, he just seems so much happier. And, I'm not saying that that's because of the manager, because he does still have a good relationship with Jurgen Klopp, and all managers and players clash at times. But I just think he just seems to be really, really enjoying himself, enjoying playing under Arne Slot, enjoying playing in this team that is very much geared towards getting the best out of him. And every single week there's a smile on his face. And it's been one of those seasons that is just, as a journalist, you feel super lucky to be able to watch a player who will be talked about. And this season of his, is certainly, if he continues it right up until the end, will be talked about for many years to come, I think.
I'll just add, MD, very quickly on something that Beth just said, which is about, obviously, difference in manager, and it's not the manager. He had a good relationship with Jurgen. If I can just respectfully just disagree slightly on Beth, I think it is the manager, specifically this season from a football perspective, because I think that what Arne Slot has done, and obviously I agree with Beth about the relationship, obviously the great relationship he had with Jurgen, but Beth, you did bring that point of when they had that spat last season, and to me that has a lot to do as well with the fact when in the manner and how Liverpool played under Jurgen's club, which is obviously, it was so inspirational and it did bring titles and it did bring so much happiness. Under Arne Slot, this is a controlled vehicle now. This is a controlled machine where, collectively speaking, every player is now more in tune. So because every player, the other 10 players, including Alisson, know exactly what they're doing when they don't have the ball, when they have it, at a more controlled pace. And that's a key word I'm using here. At a more controlled pace. Doesn't mean that it's rock and roll, heavy metal every single time. It's more control. Salah now has more of an opportunity to be himself. And Beth quite rightly discusses how there's been so many games where he doesn't score, but he's creating so much. I mean, it's unbelievable, but I think it's because everybody else is now so in tune with the game plan. And to me, that's down to the manager. It's unbelievable what Slot has done. Obviously, Salah is amazing and he deserves all the accolades, but I cannot stress enough just how much of a plaudit and how much celebratory we need to be towards Arne Slot. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Not just the manager, because Beth brought up the fact that although Mohamed Salah didn't score in midweek, he did get the assist for Alexis McAllister. And it's funny, I was watching that and I was thinking there's at least 2 Newcastle defenders there around him, which means there's going to be 1 Liverpool player spare. But everyone else is like a cat on a hot tin roof. The Newcastle defenders, oh no, Salah's got the ball. And yes, he's looking for that shot, but he's also aware. Now, that time it was McAllister. Previously, it was Szoboszlai. And as much as we've given Gravenberch and McAllister and Cody Gakpo a lot of praise this season, and they thoroughly deserve it, Beth, you wrote a piece for ESPN this week about Dominic Szoboszlai and someone that's hitting form at the right stage. 5 goals now in the Premier League this season in 21 Premier League starts. He's adding the goals to his game that we always felt that was the one thing that was missing from this super player.
Yeah, I think that is the one criticism that he's had levelled at him, that he maybe doesn't contribute enough in terms of goals and assists. And I think, when he came in from Leipzig, he was seen as this really attacking midfielder. And we've seen flashes of that. We saw it in the early months at Anfield, and people were comparing him to Steven Gerrard in his first few months. And I think in a way then he became a little bit of a victim of his own success, because he wasn't quite delivering that same level of performance. He had a couple of injuries last season as well, which I think stunted his development a little bit. But this season, I think he's been tremendous, certainly sort of the last few months. And, I think it's been noticeable in a few games that he hasn't played. He had a little spell out of the team with suspension and illness back in January. And I just think Liverpool's energy levels, the work rate collectively, the running power within the team just diminishes so significantly when he isn't part of the team. And I think what we've seen, we saw it against Manchester City, at the end of the 90 minutes, he gets a goal and assist, but his running power in that game, I think it was 11.5 kilometers he ran, more than anyone else on the pitch. And right at the final whistle, he just collapses to the turf because he's totally exhausted. And, I think that's the defining image of Dominic Szoboszlai, really, and just his unrelenting ability to run and fight for the team. And as part of the piece that I wrote, I spoke to a number of people back in Hungary, sort of people who've coached him or people who have watched his development. And, they spoke a lot about how he's a special talent, how he's always been a special talent, but also his ability to deal with pressure. Back in Hungary, he's totally revered as like a godlike figure almost. He's one of the most famous people in the country. He's everywhere. If you go out in Budapest, he's on advertising boards, billboards everywhere. And for someone so young, he's still only 24, to shoulder that responsibility, I think shows the type of character he is. And that combined with his technical quality and his work rate makes him a very special player.